Welcome to Real Trade Secrets with Jacob McBee here on Boerne Radio 103.9 FM. I am Baron Wiley, and I am so grateful that you tuned in to this great radio station, to this great podcast that you can hear on demand on all the usual channels, because there's always a great takeaway. You're going to learn something that's going to save you money, you're going to learn life hacks, and you're going to be inspired by the wisdom that comes out of the... Not to put you on the spot here, my friend here, Jacob McBee, but you happen to know a few things because you've been doing this for a while.
A little bit.
Little bit. It is Trade Secrets, but we're evolving and changing the name to Real Trade Secrets, because it just gets more real every time.
Sure.
And you talk about things that no one else is talking about, because I'm not qualified, but you are. And so I want to thank you for what you've done so far, this history that you've created on our podcast page of this, the evolution of air conditioning.
Sure.
That is, you can't live without in Texas. I'm sorry.
Right.
So just recap what we talked about, a little bit of the history of air conditioning like we did last time.
Yeah. So, I mean, as far as the air conditioning is concerned, let's back it up for a minute. When you say, what we're doing here and the podcast that we're making and the radio show and all the things there, it's, in the beginning I was a little unsure, obviously, as to how well this would take, but, going to some of the Boerne events and talking to some of the other people, and then I've got some people that are following their friends and family, following the on Spotify or the podcast.
Sure.
And they're coming back with, hey, this is really good, and they're looking for an expansion on something, or they're saying, hey, I really enjoyed the show because X, Y, Z. And so I know through the feedback that a lot of people are actually gaining great things from this. And the great things they're gaining is, like I've said so many times, it's that education. It's that higher level of education for the consumers out there, for the customers in their home that are using their air conditioner and their electrical power and their water heaters and all those things on a daily basis, that in the past they were like, well, I'm not really sure how this works, or should I be looking for this, or why is this happening? And that's what we're uncovering on these shows, is we're uncovering some of the small things that you run into every day, but you really didn't know what it was.
Right.
Think of it almost like, some of the old medical things that your great-grandparents or grandparents would teach you. If you get a bee sting, you can put some tobacco on it so it helps to draw some of those things. And
you have your truck is stocked with aloe vera, right?
Yes. You have to have that. If you don't have aloe vera plant on the back patio, go get one.
Go get one.
Okay.
Because you can't have you can't live in Texas without having aloe vera in your backyard.
Yeah,
right?
right. Yeah.
Do you stock aloe vera in your truck?
We have aloe vera. Yeah. And Band-Aids.
Right.
Yeah. Those air conditioners are sharp. They got the sharp edges.
Oh, that's true. There's safety hazards there.
Yeah, if we're not careful. So wear gloves and be careful. But hey, last time we were talking about the air conditioning and where the air conditioner kind of started, and really what air conditioning is, and it's the conditioning of air, right? And so you want to condition the air in a room as to how it feels and what's going on there. And so the Egyptians, they would take the large slabs of granite out into the desert. The desert would absorb the heat out of the granite. They turn making the granite cooler, and they drag it back inside. And throughout the day, as it's hot, the granite would absorb the heat out of the room. They're tempering the air, conditioning the air, and they just follow that process through and through and through and through again. And so, to think of what they went through from a mechanical standpoint in labor, that had to be hugely intensive.
Yeah.
Well, we just have our air conditioner that folks like I will come out and install and maintain for you, but the complexity of it is still very great. And what it takes to get those things to operate. And last time we talked a lot about the motor side of things. We even went into the light bulbs and the water heaters and all that. We talked about volts and watts and amps. Mm-hmm. Essentially, what we really wanted to cover there is a good understanding that, your kilowatts being used in your utility bill that you see and you pay on a monthly basis are going to be determined. The usage will be determined according to how much those motors are working, and sometimes how much more than necessary they're working. And a lot of that has to do with the cleanliness of the air conditioner, has to do with the proper sizing of the light bulbs, has to do with the cleanliness of the water heater. It has to really do with the general maintenance and upkeep of what you got there, because they're designed under factory conditions inside of, these labs, and these labs are under the perfect condition. And then we install it in our house, and through 5 years of usage, that changes. You're no longer in a lab setting.
Right.
And so our job
because
is to
of
make
that
sure,
dog.
because of the dog, or because of the scale buildup from your water and your water heater, or because you only had that one last light bulb in the pantry. Instead of using the 40 watt, you threw a 100 watt in there.
Yeah.
And so you're causing yourself additional usage in electricity. Sometimes you're causing yourself some possible adverse effects that you don't want to deal with. And so we just want to keep a good eye on those things. And remember, you have voltage. The voltage is supplied to your house, and then the motor itself is going to create an amp draw from the voltage, and that's going to be the kilowatts or the watts that you use inside of that. And so the more you have to push in, the harder that motor's working, the higher the amp draw, the more wattage you're going to use, the higher your utility bill is going to be. And if we keep everything under as close to factory condition as possible, or that lab setting, the lower your utility bill is going to be, the more comfortable things are going to be, and the more correctly they're going to work according to how they were designed. And so when we alter those, we have problems. When we keep them close, we have less problems.
You super serve your clients,
Sure.
even if they're not your client. Mm-hmm. So can you talk about that for just a second, and we'll get back into the history here in the 101 portion of the show.
So we're still offering the complimentary second opinions, the complimentary service calls, and the complimentary maintenance right now, which with any of those, we follow a very strict process. We'll get to the home. We will first lay down our floor mats, make sure your home's protected, put on floor savers, make sure that our shoes don't track dirt through your home. We'll sit down, we'll have a quick discussion with you, and we'll determine exactly what's going on, what problems you're running into, what we need to look at. And then we'll begin to set up 8 different monitors that are Bluetooth linked into a computer system and begin to monitor exactly what the operating parameters of your air conditioner are. It generates a third-party verified report. We have a third party verify exactly what the technician's finding. We put in 13 plus pictures with those reports, and then we present it to you. And that way you know exactly what you're looking at. We can go over it with you, and some of it obviously is going to be, quote unquote French for you, but that's where we stop. We slow down and say, what's your question here? How's this going?
Right. We
relate the picture back to what the findings are and what the color codes are and exactly what's happening, so that you can walk away and say, okay, now I know what's going on, and this is what I need to work on, or let's just go ahead and fix it now, or hey, the other guy was right, I'm going to call him back out. That's fine too. We're here to serve you. We're here to make sure that you have your questions answered, and make sure that as consumers out there, you're as educated as possible, so that your money is being spent as well as possible.
And you're doing it so well all over the hill country, from San Antonio all the way up to Austin and everywhere in between.
And so I got a friend of mine. His name's Baron.
Oh, that guy.
He had a metering device that was malfunctioning, and it's an intermittent problem. So sometimes it's working fine, and sometimes it's not. Calls us out and say, hey, what's going on? But it's really a hard thing to discover unless we catch it red-handed, per se. 1. 2, you really sit there and you monitor the things closely through like our digital monitoring systems, so that we can see, okay, it was doing this and now it's doing that. When you look at a standard analog or a standard meter or gauge like you're maybe used to seeing, it's just got the needle there, you have no recording history as to what's going on. So our products, we actually were able to record and see, oh, it was doing this 10 minutes ago, and now it's starting to flutter and adjust here. We take all those other monitors, put them back together, and say, hey, now we know exactly what the problem is. And you begin to make small adjustments. Some of the problems that you run into, you don't need to go in and make these major, large adjustments. You want to start off sometimes small, so that you don't overcorrect something, overspend money, and or cause yourself other problems down the road. Sometimes you just start off small, and you make those adjustments. And like, for example, on that one, you could see, instead of just replacing the entire thing and charging, X amount of dollars, we decided we'd start off by making some small adjustments, testing this, testing that, and then we can say, confirmed, this is exactly what needs to happen.
And almost like a doctor, because you had like the initial visit, and then there was a follow-up after
Yes.
that. That's what we're talking about. It's a very methodical, very deliberate thing that you guys do, and that is the difference.
Yeah.
This is not, I'm here to, it doesn't work, we're going to replace the whole thing.
Yeah.
And that's what I was kind of used to, and I expected from a lot of folks. Not with my favorite service company.
Yeah.
Thank you.
There's a saying I like to tell the guys is fast money goes fast. We're
Right.
not looking to make fast money. We're making make correct money.
And lifelong clients.
Yes, absolutely, 100%.
That's how you do it. All right, we're almost coming up on a break here, so kind of put a bow on how's business going?
Business is going good. We now have 8 trucks that we've got.
Did you start off with 2? Start off with 4?
Start off with 3. We added another one, and then I just ordered 4 more. So we're growing well. Our demand is high.
What's it with the current crisis of going on? Everybody running out of materials there too. How are you managing that? Is that tough?
I've got 25 years of history in the business. So
You know some people.
I know a lot of people, and so I have a lot of phone calls to make sometimes, but I'm able to track things down and get it done. And so, the other day we had a customer, and they were doing a home remodel. They wanted a complete new system. They wanted the best one they can get. And, I had to go to the north side of Dallas to track it down and find it. But through probably 10 plus phone calls, we were able to find exactly what they wanted. I had it delivered down. That manufacturer actually covered delivery with me, so we didn't have to extend extra charges to the consumers, to their customer. And they got what they needed and wanted.
And again, I don't want to get tired of saying it, but it's my favorite service company.
Yeah.
It's for some strange reason, because you guys, again, over-deliver. MyFavoriteServiceCompany.com. It's Jacob McBee, Real Trade Secrets, here on Boerne Radio with Jacob McBee, brought to you by My Favorite Service Company. I'm Baron Wiley. Stick around with us. We're going to get into some real trade secrets. Is that all right with you?
Absolutely.
All right.
And if you like and appreciate the tips and discussions we've had here and feel this added some value, please go below and hit the like button for us. You'd be doing us a huge favor. In addition, if you'd go below and just make a comment, that's a great gauge for us to continue to bring great trade secrets to you right here on Real Trade Secrets.
Hey, we've been talking about the history of air conditioning. We've talked about cleanliness and the motors and the amperage and all that kind of stuff there too. I know how my car works. I start it up and I put gas in it and I hit the pedal and I go. I don't know the first thing about how the air conditioner works, and I have a strange feeling that you might know something.
Sure. So yeah, the air conditioner itself is it's simple but complex, and I say that because the simplicity of it, if you looked at it from just a general overview, 30,000 feet flying over, it's very simple. You have an outdoor coil. Mm-hmm. Inside of there is a compressor and a fan motor. And then you have your refrigerant lines that go into the home. They feed into an evaporator coil. Underneath that is, depending on if it's gas or electric, you'll have a heat exchanger. If it's electric, you're just going to have another fan or blower motor inside of there. Then you have another refrigerant line that just returns the refrigerant back to the outside. So very simple whenever you look at it from that standpoint. The thing of it is we'd like to go into just a little bit more detail so that you understand what's going on. So, have you ever had an air conditioner freeze up?
Yes, I have.
Okay.
Looks like Christmas down there.
And you're thinking, what's going on here? Why is it freezing up? Or you ever had your air conditioner just stop blowing inside?
I've had that too.
And
where were you 30 years ago?
So we'll look at some of the problems that we run into on a regular basis. The outdoor unit's not running, the indoor unit's not running, the unit's frozen, or the unit's just running continuously and it's not cooling the home. And so on the refrigerant cycle itself, basically you have the compressor that's compressing refrigerant, and it's sending it inside to the evaporator coil under high pressure, high temperature liquid refrigerant. At that point, it's going to get to a metering device. That metering device is going to meter the refrigerant down so it enters the coil under a cold stage, right? And that refrigerant is going to enter into that evaporator coil under that stage so that it is then cold. The warm air from your house moves across it through your evaporator coil and your blower inside blowing that air.
Right.
Then it's going to pick up the heat from your home, going to cool it down, going to send that cold, fresh air back through the air conditioning system into your bedroom or the living room, above the couch, wherever you're at. And it's going to take that refrigerant and send it back outside. That metering device's job is to meter the refrigerant down so that, one, it enters that coil under the stage that it's supposed to so that it can pick up the heat. It also is supposed to be metering it down so that it's not a liquid refrigerant returning back to your compressor.
Aha.
Okay? So let's just take that, for example, really fast and say, if we change or alter something at that point, what happens? Let's say we turn the fan off. Well, now you no longer have the ability for that air to move across there. So then the refrigerant doesn't have the opportunity to pick up any heat. So then it's still cold. Mm-hmm. Then it's returning back to your compressor, and it's possibly in a liquid form at that point. So if you take a warm, hot motor that's mechanically operating and you dumped ice cold liquid inside of it, what's a metal going to do then? It's going to begin to break down. It's possibly going to contract too fast because in its heated stage it's expanded. And if you dump liquid refrigerant back on top of that, then it's going to contract too fast. You're going to cause a mechanical issue. That's when you have compressors begin to go out. Okay, so whenever you decrease the fan all the way, your blower motor inside goes out. You've got that problem. What if it just gets dirty or your filter's dirty and you reduce the air? We talked about that factory design condition. If you reduce the air by 25%, you're also at that point going to have the opportunity to send a refrigerant back to the compressor that didn't have the opportunity to do what it was designed to do. So again, you're returning back a liquid refrigerant to that compressor. And these are the things that I say, these are not factory design conditions. So you're altering the operation of that compressor. In turn, you're going to decrease its life expectancy. You're going to cause premature failure, and it cause an in-warranty return for that unit. Or if it's not in warranty, then it's going to be all on you.
Right.
So very, very bad. So just looking from that side, the metering device will meter the refrigerant down. The blower blows the warm air across there. That refrigerant then able to pick up that heat. It returns back to the compressor on the stage it's designed so that it's not freezing up. Whenever you see your air conditioner start to freeze up, you've got problems.
Right.
Whenever that air conditioner is running and it's not cooling down the house like it's supposed to, you're running under conditions it's not designed for.
And an ice pick is not the solution, right?
The ice pick, no.
I'm chipping that off there.
No, just don't do that. Just turn it off. Turn it off and call us, and we'll come out and assess the situation. Your blower motor inside has its job. Your metering device inside has its job. We change things. We start to alter the way it's designed. We're going to cause ourselves other problems. Don't see there's a problem or feel that there's a problem and not call.
Right.
Because you can start trickling that liquid refrigerant back because of one of these three things we just talked about is not working correctly, and you start dribbling some liquid refrigerant back into that compressor. You're running it under conditions it's not designed for. You got a hot compressor outside trying to do its job, and you're dumping some ice cold liquid refrigerant inside there. You're going to cause a problem. You're going to start overamping. You're going to start consuming more electricity. Your kilowatt usage go up. Your utility bills go up. Your comfort goes down. You've got problems.
Is any of this our fault? I mean, it's just a...
Other than changing the filter, none of those things would be your fault.
I mean, am I going to damage my warranty because of this
Typically
weird stuff?
not. Typically not. No. So, okay, in warranty returns, if you return something back to the manufacturer, they want a report as to what's going on there and why that is being returned. So what did you discover upon arrival? Well, many times when something is broken, we can't go back in the crystal ball and see what the past was. And also when we get there, we can't look at the crystal ball and see what the future is. All we know is that mechanical motor now has been ran under an altered state or a point that it's not designed for, and damage has been done. How much damage, unless it's completely out, we don't know. So how much longer it's going to run, we also don't know. But when we turn that to the manufacturer, they want these reports. And so they try to look at these things and discover what's going on. And often they have something that they will do further down the line to help redesign their air conditioners. Or two, they also, in many cases, find that it was an installation error in the beginning where they didn't install the right metering device, or they didn't do this correct, or they didn't do that correct. And so you'll find that some contractors out there, I don't know any myself and I have none to name, but some will have a higher in-warranty return rate to the manufacturer than others. That's because they're not taking the time to make sure everything is done correctly. They're not crossing every T and dotting every I. But in many cases, it's not your fault. It's just something else that was done wrong in the very beginning. Now, if you're bad about changing your filters and you continually run that filter dirty, then obviously you're starting to alter things. And yeah, some of that can be your fault. But again, that's where I just say if you'll take that, we talked about last time, take that filter and put it on your calendar as a reminder, but also mark that calendar with your marker. Hey, when the last time I changed a filter was, whatever the date is, and mark it on there. That way you can go back and look and say, oh, it's been 60 days. I need to change it.
Jake, just a couple minutes left, so bring us home.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you just imagine what the indoor unit's there, we talked about how it's blowing the warm air from the house and then picking up the coolness out of the refrigerant, or true scientific term is the refrigerant's picking up the heat out of the air. Then you take the outdoor unit and you look at that and say, what is it doing? So the compressor is pulling the refrigerant back, hopefully under the right conditions, so that it's not working under conditions it's not designed for. Then you have the outdoor fan motor that's blowing. So its job is actually to remove the heat back out of the refrigerant and put it back into the form necessary so they can send it back into the house. And it can follow this process over and over again. But the same thing under the same preference can happen on the outdoor unit, where if your outdoor unit's dirty or the fan motor's not working correctly or one of the controls is not working correctly, you begin to alter the stages there so it has less airflow than necessary or it has none of the airflow necessary. Then again, you're overamping your motors, you're working that compressor under conditions not designed for, and you're going to cause adverse effects. And another thing that we do whenever we're doing our maintenance out there is we're checking all those, and we've talked about it many times, the electrical connections. But not just the electrical connections itself, but the devices that actually open and close almost like a light switch on your wall to say, air conditioner turn on, air conditioner turn off. It's important to look at all these things also and say, are they still under good condition? So if you'll take that switch and say, okay, it's great now because it just came from the factory and it's in perfect operating condition. Relate that to a set of brake pads 100,000 miles down the road. Those brake pads wear out over time.
Right.
The same thing happens whenever you have a very high amperage set of motors outside that are drawing power constantly. Those pads on side of those contacts begin to wear down. And as they wear down, they cause a higher friction, they cause more heat, they cause higher amperage, and they cause those motors to begin to work under conditions they're not designed for. And again, that's where we begin to have premature failure. So we need to put new pads on there. We need to put new contactors in there after a certain amount of time to make sure you've got good, solid connections so that motor gets the proper amount of electricity, the proper amp draws, so it's pulling the correct number of watts that is designed for so that your utility bills stay the same. And as air conditioners get older, it's not that the air conditioner is older, it's that all the operating parts and pieces inside of it are older, and that's what begins to cause you to consume more electricity. And the further along you go with that, and the longer you let that go, the worse it's going to get. And inside of those motors, they have irreversible damage that gets done. And once we wait to a certain point, if that irreversible damage has been done, you're not going to be able to correct it no more unless you just replace it. And that's when you start to get into really expensive things. So whenever you have somebody come out and they say, hey, we recommend surge protection, or we recommend new switches, or we recommend you to upgrade something with a compressor start assist or an assistant to help these motors that are older to get started and operate correctly, these things are, in many cases, not every time, but in many cases, these are necessities. So don't put them off or think that it's something that's not necessary. Just because it's running doesn't mean it's running correctly. Take the professional's advice. They should provide you with pictures to say, here's how it's supposed to look, how it currently looks, and then a final picture saying, and now this is what it looks like after I finish the job, so that you have that clarification. But in many cases, it is necessary because these older air conditioners get to a point where they're not working like they're supposed to, and we need to upgrade, change, and adjust things to get them where they need to be so that you're under factory fresh condition, you're operating at the highest level of efficiency possible with what you have so that you get the longest lifespan with it, and you're consuming as little electricity as possible while staying as comfortable as possible.
If you hear the noise in the background, we're broadcasting live from the Bevy Hotel. We do this on Wednesdays. There's a trade show going on right now. This is Real Trade Secrets, and you're right in the heart of Boerne, Texas, and you're bringing it. So again, I say thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. It's a blast. I have fun doing it. We totally enjoy it. Walker comes on. He looks forward to it every time. Mr. Pettit enjoyed the show the other day, and they're all excited to continue to do it with us.
We're making history right here on this great program. It's called Real Trade Secrets, brought to you by my favorite service company, myfavoriteservicecompany.com. Have a great week.
Thank you. Thank you so much for listening. If you've enjoyed the show and you haven't subscribed, liked, or followed, please do so below. It'd be a great help to us.